What were the graduation requirements like for you when you had to graduate high school? Did you have to take online tests? Did you have to take paper tests? Or did you simply have to pass your core classes? Well, today, high school students are being forced to take online standardized tests through the state, and they have to earn a certain amount of points in order to pass their class and to graduate high school. I recently just graduated high school a few months ago, so I know firsthand what it is like to take these tests, and I know how much stress and how much struggle they can cause through the students and even the teachers and the rest of the school building. High school students should not be allowed to take these tests, or they should not be forced to take them at all. And I'm going to talk about three main points as to why they shouldn't be able, or they should not be required to take them. The first point will be how students are bad test takers, the stress that is brought upon all the students and the teachers throughout these tests, and how school isn't even really about learning anymore, but it's more about passing tests. So my first point is how students are bad test takers. I myself am a terrible test taker. I struggle with any standardized test, ACT, SAT, terrible. No matter how much I studied, no matter how much I prepared, I just couldn't do it. And it's simply because of the time of these tests. When you take these tests, you're timed by each test. So like you would have a certain amount of time for math, you would have a certain amount of time for reading and science and history as well. And I really struggled with that. I felt the pressure and I felt like I didn't have enough time to really, comprehend everything, all the questions. I just felt like I needed to get it done. And I was a really good student in the class. I had straight A's. If I had just a little subject or test on something in one subject, I was able to ace the test because of how much I prepared and studied, because I felt like I had enough time to take my test in class. But with these online tests for the state, it was just a completely different ball game. Our teachers would prepare us. They would do anything they could, and I still could not really get the best scores I could on these tests. So yeah, I was a straight A student, but with these tests, I struggled a lot. And I mean a lot. And I wasn't the only one. I know a lot of people really struggled. I think my high school valedictorian actually struggled with the test because you really didn't know what to expect on them, and the time really threw everybody off. So if you're a bad test taker, these tests are really, really, really hard to, pass and get the points you need to graduate. So my second point will be the stress that is brought upon. So, and throughout the school during the test times, they basically run through weeks. So, like, we would be testing for maybe a whole month, and through that whole month, I mean, the whole building was stressed out. The teachers, the students, everybody, even our principal, and they would do everything they could to, prepare us and make us more awake while we're taking the test and everything. But it just didn't work for us. The teachers would stress because they would be worried if they really taught their information well enough for us to pass. And if we didn't really do well, it reflected on them. And it also made their job a lot harder to teach, because they can't really teach what they want to teach. They have to teach by specifics and what is going to be on this test or what's not going to be on this test. But they would always give us practice tests throughout the classrooms, like when in class time, and we would take them closer. We would take a lot more closer to the test time, but they still really didn't help, and it just really, really, really stressed us all out, because we were taking these tests in class, the practice tests, and we weren't really learning. We were just trying to, get through a practice test to get our best score on the practice test to prepare us for the actual test. But when the time came, it really didn't really help us, because we weren't under that time pressure, and we weren't able to ask questions, and we were just all on the computer and being looked at. It was just a really, really stressful time for all of us. In my class, I graduated 2018, so my class was the guinea pigs basically. So when these tests first came out, we were the first class to actually take them. Well, my freshman year, we took, I think, about 7 tests, I think it was, and they had to exempt all of them because every student failed because of how hard they were. And they realized how hard they were, and they made them more lenient, but really they weren't more lenient, and they weren't easier at all throughout the next couple years. I think they actually got a little bit harder. And my third point is about school, and how school isn't really about learning anymore. It's more about, oh, you need to pass this test to do this, or you need to pass this test to, graduate. And I just think it's crazy for today, because students do so well in the classrooms, but they're going to base everything on with how they do on this specific test. And me and a couple other students were talking one day, and we said, you know, even with one of my teachers, she was like, I couldn't pass that test if I really wanted to, unless I really prepared for it. Like, helping you guys would make me pass that test, but I wouldn't be able to do it if I were in your shoes. And it's just really sad because even some of our teachers realize how hard these tests are and how challenging they are, that she wouldn't even be able to do it. So the teachers really aren't able to teach what they want to teach us anymore. Like, it's all about, you know, we're going to learn this for the test, and then you need to pass the test in order to pass the class or to graduate. And it's just sad how much schools have changed and how teachers have to teach and switch the lessons and everything. It's just really, I'm just scared to see what schools will be like, or graduation requirements will be like for my kids when they have to graduate high school. It's just getting out of hand, I believe. And along with these standardized tests, there was a way you can override it, and it was if you got like a 28 on your ACT. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the ACT, but the ACT is a super hard test. I mean, super hard. You have to, everything's timed like it was on, you know, the standardized test, but it's just a lot more stressful and harder. And it's kind of unrealistic for a student to get a 28 unless it's complete luck or they're just completely smart and know what they're doing. So I believe these tests are terrible, and they tear students down. They really do. I would always get discouraged walking into that classroom to go take the test because I felt so pressured to do well, and I felt so rushed and everything. And the other bad part is they're all online. So I would always be worried, you know, is my computer going to work? Is my computer going to fail during this test? Is it going to shut off? If it shuts off, what am I going to do? I'm going to be behind all the other students. And I'm the type of person that loves to see everything on paper. Paper and pen is all for me, like taking a test-wise. I feel more comfortable, more relaxed, but that's not an option for these tests. They're strictly online. These tests are very, very hard, and I believe we need to do something about them and make students or make teachers and the state realize how hard these tests are and how strenuous and, you know, how much they're affecting schools today through the teachers, through the stress of the students, and all the bad test takers. So I believe we really need to do something about them, and I think everybody should take into consideration what our students are going through today. So I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you for listening.